Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have QSAM Biosciences, Inc., trades on the OTCQB under the symbol QSAM, and is developing next-generation nuclear medicines for the treatment of cancer and related diseases. Please welcome its CEO and co-founder, Doug Baum, as well as the General Counsel, Chris Nelson. Gentlemen, welcome back. Could you please provide our audience with a brief review of QSAM's technology, plus some milestones and investment thesis as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. It's been about 2 months since we last presented to the Emerging Growth Conference, and so we're happy to provide this update. Now, as a bit of a refresher, QSAM is a clinical stage therapeutic radiopharmaceutical company. It's focused in the area of bone cancer, right? Specifically, we're going after cancer that is either metastasized to the bone from either the breast or lung or a number of other organs, as well as for cancer that's originated in the bones for diseases such as osteosarcoma and Ewing sarcoma. Now, with bone metastasis, there's about 400,000 newly diagnosed cases in the United States, yet there remains about 350,000 patients who die every year. So you can see with numbers like that, that the standard of care, things like chemotherapy, really aren't working all that well for these patients, and bone cancer really remains an area of high unmet medical need. Osteosarcoma and Ewing sarcoma, which mostly affects the pediatric population, where also has sort of poor outcomes, where limb amputation is a common outcome for these patients, and that's another area that we're focusing on. Now, specifically, our product, Cyclosam, which is a patent-protected combination of samarium 153 and our chelate agent of DOTMP. Now, you can think of the samarium as the radioactive source. This is where the tumor-killing radiation occurs. We kind of refer to it as the nuclear warhead. And DOTMP, which is the carrier or the chelate that actually gets the radiation, gets the samarium to the sites of active metastatic disease. It's sort of the bone-seeking missile, and it's this unique patented combination that we're developing and currently enrolling patients in our initial clinical trials. Now, since our presentation in January, we've continued to make very good progress in this short period of time. We've onboarded our third clinical research site, which is the Cancer Center at the University of Missouri. We've received approval from the FDA to increase the age eligibility for these patients from 65 to 75. We were noticing that there were a number of patients who were otherwise eligible, but if they were 67 or 70 years old, weren't able to qualify for this particular study. We've launched an aggressive social media patient recruitment campaign, which is just getting underway. That's looking to also generate more patients into our clinical trial. And importantly, we've completed our first cohort of 3 patients and have already started screening patients for the second cohort, which we expect to start dosing next month. And you can see from the graphic at the bottom, you can see where we are in the near-term development program, focused on generating multiple dose data, getting through this phase 1 study, which we believe really represents a significant value driver for us and represents an opportunity, the first opportunity for serious discussions with a large pharmaceutical partner or acquirer. And we're looking to get that, done in the next 24, 30, 36 months. Now, this slide represents our investment thesis for Cyclosam, where our current valuation is today about $14 or $15 million, and where we will be after we completed our multiple dose phase 2 study. And you can see the past 2 years, there's been a number of acquisitions at various stages in the radiopharmaceutical space. Compared to where we'll be in about 24 or 30 months. So you can see some of the value that's being created, some of the deal sizes that have occurred by very large companies like Novartis and Bayer and Lantheus. So this is sort of a deal active, exciting, growing area of medicine. So that sort of represents sort of the initial update, Anna. I don't know if there's any questions from you or the audience.
Well, we also understand that your study is still in progress. So do you have any preliminary data you can share with us at this time?
Yeah, in the first few patients, we've seen some very promising results, and this slide reflects the first patient. In these patients, what we're really trying to show are three important items, the three key things. The first is to demonstrate that our drug is actually being uptaken in the skeletal system to the bone, to where the sites of active metastatic disease. And you can see from the image on the lower left, that's exactly what's occurring. Once we administer the product, you can see it goes right to the skeletal system, and it particularly concentrates in areas where there's active metastatic disease. Second, what we'd like to see is good safety outcomes, which is reflected for this particular patient in the table in the upper right-hand corner, where we're assessing a number of blood parameters. And what we're really concerned here with our product is the potential to damage the bone marrow. But you can see in this particular patient, and specifically two key parameters, the white blood cell count and the platelets, that we're really not deviating from the normal range. And so this particular patient has responded extremely well from a safety standpoint. And finally, sort of the third thing that we want to show is efficacy. And in the image in the lower right-hand corner of the slide, you can see a before and after image of a particular tumor site where we're having a disruptive impact on tumor cell metabolism. In this particular patient, we're showing a 63% decrease in that tumor cell metabolism. So that's exactly what we'd like to see from an efficacy standpoint. Now, remember, this is a safety study, so we're not really focused on driving significant efficacy outcomes, but this is a very clear indication that the drug is starting to work.
Josh Neal wants you to talk more about growth going forward. Do you have any targets lined up?
Well, yeah, as we said, we're trying to create the value by completing our ongoing phase 1 study and starting the second phase 2 multiple dose data, where we'll use our product, up to 5 or 6 times over a period of 6 or so months. And that's really the data that's going to show a disease-modifying outcome or true efficacy. And that we expect to do in about 24 or so months. We expect to finish our phase 1 study later this year, start our phase 2 study late this year or early next year, and generate that repeated dose data to show a true disease-modifying and beneficial outcome for these patients with bone cancer.
So Lou Mathis says after the fallout with the regional banks, biotechs are having trouble getting funded. So do you see any obstacles here?
Well, yeah, we're all facing headwinds as an industry. I don't think it's a unique situation. But yeah, we are in the process of completing an ongoing PIPE. We've been successful in raising and mostly a lot from our existing investors. And so we expect to close that here pretty by the end of this month. And we will be raising capital later on this year and next year to move into that multiple dose phase 2 development pathway.
Well, speaking of capital, how are you currently capitalized, and will you need funding in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the purpose of raising the current PIPE. We've raised a couple of $1 million so far. We have about another $1 million coming in. That should get us well into late this year, and that's when we expect to be raising some additional capital.
Wonderful. Well, do you gentlemen have any closing remarks? What key takeaways for our audience today?
Yeah, well, what we really represent, certainly at our current valuation around $15 million, is a real attractive opportunity in a rapidly growing and deal-active radiopharmaceutical space, where there have been a number of recent deals and significant valuations. We have a very experienced team that's been around the block. We have a number of FDA approvals in prior lives. We have a very experienced board of directors and a world-renowned group of physician investigators and scientific collaborators that are brought together for this project. Our lead asset is materially de-risked. It's showing very good signs of efficacy and safety in our ongoing study. And really, it represents a great opportunity to get into space of several large markets where there's a high unmet medical need. And we're looking to generate that value, enroll these patients, create that data, generate that data to show that our drug does have a promising and beneficial impact for these patients that really have very, very viable, very good treatment options presently.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming back on for this update. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back with our next presenter.